on TVC Channel 40, Facebook, and YouTube. The numbers you can reach us at if you wish to join in on the discussion or share a pressing topic. I'll start with the UK number. It's 0333 or USA number 1-718-285-56-984 or 1-305-921-4619. Our local number 466-0989. Quint, how are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm trying my best to be better than yesterday.
Well, let's hope you succeed.
I hope so too.
I think you have, though.
Thank you for that. On today's program at 8:45, we have the missionary mannequin. That's Judith Devertul. She's from Trinidad. At 9 o'clock until the 9:15 hour, we have the Rotary Prostate Screening representative will come in to talk about that. And then from 9:15 to 9:45, we have the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards to speak about the labeling and other topics that may arise. So we invite you to stay tuned. Now, when I came in this morning, I was telling Quint about a story that I saw. But apparently it's not a new news story. It's a story that's been making rounds. But the headline for that story says, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis accuses MSR Media of attempted extortion over documentary threat. And from what I gathered from the article, it's on winnfm.com. It's written by Kevin Brown. The gist of it, they're trying to get 40 million to 100 million to prevent the film's release. The CBI program has come under a lot of scrutiny as the Prime Minister said he inherit situations such as Russian applicants, the MSR Media Agreement, Caribbean Galaxy, and the Prime Minister, as he mentioned, he said this is extortion and blackmail. He's not going to stand for it. And it's basically they're pressuring the government. He's not going to allow them to pressure the government financially. Someone even told them they saw the film.
Mm-hmm.
It features him and several other conditioned citizens. They told him it's very damaging, mind you. And they told him the ball is in his court. So, as he said, extortion of the state will not happen and legal action is being pursued.
Well, we heard that MSR was supposed to create films, right? You're not hearing me?
You're low, very low.
Okay. Is that better? Yes. Yes, we heard that MSR was supposed to come to the Federation and create films. We didn't know it was nefarious or damaging films. We thought that there would be movies in the movie industry, but I guess it's all part of the filming, so. Yeah.
No, it's low still. It's
Better.
very low.
Better?
Go ahead, let me see if I can hear.
Is it sounding better?
Somewhat, but it's still low.
I'm going to have to come over there and
Okay.
perhaps
Or
take
maybe we
a
can just continue for now.
let me take a bit of a commercial break and
Okay.
get that.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM. You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
Rachel, congrats. I heard about your promotion. And you just finished a master's? You're on a path to success. How do you do it?
Simple. Follow your heart, chase your career goals, and choose the bank that supports your journey.
Follow your heart to mentor, mother, or nurture. CIBC Caribbean is proud to empower women entrepreneurs and professionals like you. We provide women's empowerment benefits, including reduced fees, cashback, and more. Visit CIBCCaribbean.com/women in business for more information.
It's the start of the week. It's time for a new perspective. It's time for Unfiltered. Join Azar Gums, lawyer and deputy leader of the People's Action Movement, for raw and unfiltered political analysis of the current events in St. Kitts and Nevis. Tune in every Sunday evening from 7:30 p.m. on WinFM. Join Azar Gums as he breaks the mantle and cuts through the unfiltered political noise to bring you the facts. Unfiltered every Sunday evening on WinFM 98.9.
You are a VIP with CIBC Caribbean. Spend US $100 or local equivalent with your CIBC Visa credit card for your chance to win a crop over VIP experience in Barbados. An expenses paid trip for two, staying at the Courtyard by Marriott Hotel, cultural tours, and aura experience with full glam makeup, plus tickets to the hottest last lap events. Visit CIBCCaribbean.com/cropover 2025 for more info. Conditions apply.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on Win Media 98.9.
Alrighty, and we are back on Island Tea as we continue our discussion. So, we know the two other cases that were initiated by the production company were since dropped. So I was wondering if that's why, as these views are just our views, just our asking, our thinking, it's not that of WinFM, if that's why they're trying to get the money now, because the cases were dropped.
I honestly, I can't get into the minds of these people, and I won't even try. Any way you turn it, I don't know why they just don't let this thing and this MSR fade away. Recently, because he has been on programs with DJ Marishaw and Ian Patches, I guess that has awakened the whole thing again. Perhaps he has made new allegations. I don't know. But if the fact that this was in the American court system and you drop it, why are you,
Yeah, just let it go.
Just let it go. But I guess some individuals want to see others' careers destroyed, and that goes across the board, because from the time we had the election and we had a new regime, they seem to be on a vendetta, and now it seems as it's like a hit back, so it's a back and forth kind of thing.
But are we looking at it at something like this? People are going to look at our country different, and it's going to kind of bring us down the ladder?
That is the way. That is one of the main things that tarnished our CIB program, and I don't see where it's going to do any good.
Because I see a next headline here that says PM Gonzalez opposes CBI, and it says Dr. Drew acknowledges uncertainties and highlights the government's plan to preserve the St. Kitts and Nevis CBI program. When Mr. Gonzalez went into power in 2001, he rescinded it.
Yes.
He wants nothing to do with it. He went on to say, as Dr.
We have a caller.
Okay, caller, go ahead. You're live on Island T. Okay,
let's try another. Oh, we lost
they
them
can
both.
all call back.
Call back.
Yes, please. It says, the article says, Prime Minister Drew acknowledged that the CBI program is insecure, particularly regarding potential exogenous shocks. However, Dr. Drew said it has done much good for the Federation, and he would do whatever he could to protect it. He said he did not hear much of what Prime Minister Gonzalez said. And as he mentioned, the CBI is very insecure type of industry.
Caller is back.
Okay, caller, good morning. You're live on Island T.
Good morning to everyone, and greetings once more in Jesus' name, the only Savior of sinners from the sins and from hell, and the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, first of all, let me say, this CBI program, it is a very bad program. And I think it has done much more harm to the country than good. And above all else, it is unbiblical because this is not the way government should run according to the Bible. But the CBI program has been used to fund all kind of very bad, unbiblical government policies that are very dangerous and destructive to the country.
What were some of those policies that it was used to fund?
Well, the usual policies where government control is controlled. For example, we used to fund government schools, government hospitals, government involvement in agriculture, government involvement in tourism, and all sorts of stuff that government ought not to be in. And it is very destructive. And one of the ways that this is very destructive is because, as I've said in the past, instead of the private sector doing these things, because the government has been generating money and make it even more even easier to do these things, funding all these things which it ought not to be doing. It has many destructive factors on the society, but I can just name one. Like I've said in the past, when government involved in all of these things, doing all these things, from one, you are fired from all. That is not good for the country. This is a platform for increased dictatorship and tyranny in the country because it keeps people afraid and scared of speaking out and criticizing their government. And even if you ain't working for government, because of who you have working for government, you got to keep your mouth shut as well. For example, two of winnfm frequent callers, for example, was in that position. Miss Henry and Mr. McMahon. They never called in and criticized the government when they were working for government. They wait until when they went on pension to start to do so. And Dwyer Estefan, for example, again, when he only started speaking out against the government when he was now eligible for pension, full pension, that is full pension. When he was in government, when he reached the eligibility for full pension, is when he started talking out. And it's very interesting because these people cannot now go and tell other people to speak, or they cannot do it without being hypocritical. Because when they tell other people now to speak up for the right and fight for the right, when they never used to do it until when they became pensionable and start to pension, and they go tell people to speak out and that sort of stuff, it becomes very hypocritical of them as well.
Greg, when you were a part of the Social Security system, could you go out and divulge a lot of the things in the way that you're divulging certain things now? When you're part of a system, aren't you concerned about making sure that you don't tarnish the system in any way, put the system in a position where people take legal action against them, divulge important whatever? Weren't you?
For example, no, go ahead.
Yeah, weren't you in that position when you were part of the what was it again?
What? Inland Revenue.
Inland Revenue. Inland Revenue, a very, very important faction of the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, you cannot divulge people's personal information, and which I still will not do.
Not only people's
personal information.
Not only people's personal information. There are other information associated with the running of the business, apart from people's personal thing that you are not in a position to divulge.
Right.
Yes.
There's people's personal taxation that I was told that I cannot divulge. Okay. And not only that, I would never also release people's personal information as well.
And here's another thing.
That is what I was told that you cannot divulge.
And here's another thing. I would prefer if you don't always call people's names. I mean, you can say you said two of the frequent callers, and then you can say a
these
former.
are public figures.
Yeah, but depending, they can they can take certain actions and tie you up and so forth in the court system, whether you win or you lose. That is.
No, but one of them at least. Hold on. One of them. At least I have heard one of them, and I said, when that person was said, when you used to work for government, you couldn't. What you did, you wasn't saying this thing, and that person said it publicly because I was working for government.
Well, you can confront the individual personally, but I am saying we here at WinFM 98.9 would prefer if you do not call people's names. If you say two frequent callers or former minister, because you could cause us some concern. People are just waiting for all kind of foolish reasons to do things, and whether or not
I'm not misleading the character.
No, I am.
People sue you for
Greg,
I didn't deform anybody.
Greg, I am not saying that. I am saying we are mature people. Hear what I'm saying. We would prefer if you just say two frequent callers or you say a former minister. What is wrong with that?
What? No, nothing is wrong with that either.
Okay,
nothing is wrong. But people name are called constantly. For example, you are called DJ Maurice your name.
Yes, because that was on a public forum, being broadcast all over the place. But these individuals, when they call in, who tell you they want you to be bandering their names about saying, well, so and so and Miss so and so and Mr. so and so. I am simply saying, wherever you can, refrain from calling people's names. You could have made your point without doing so. Mind you, there are times when you can, if it is a public issue, something out of the news, they call the name, blah, 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 and that kind of stuff. But if you can avoid it, avoid it. That's simply what I'm saying.
I understand.
Yes.
I understand that. But I always hear you all say, where defamation of names is concerned, do not call people's name. I understand that part. What I said, I don't think was defamation of anybody's name. And that is why I called the name, because I didn't say anything that deformed the character.
Are you aware that there are some individuals who don't even want their name called on radio? It makes them feel uncomfortable. Are you aware of that?
They are in the public, but if they're in the public domain as public figures, whether they want the name called yes or not, it is correct to call them if they put themselves in the public domain.
I am saying
they put themselves up to be publicly criticized.
Greg, I agree with you to some extent, but one of the things that that irks me about you is that sometimes you don't let things go. All I simply said was, if you can avoid it, do not. We prefer if you don't call people. Why are we continuing this over and over? Yeah.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay, then fair enough. It is your show, no problem. Cool, okay. But what I'm saying is that what I'm saying is this though. Because government owns so many things, okay? Because government owns so many things, people by and large are afraid to speak out, are afraid to oppose the government.
And that is true.
And by the way, there should be whistleblower laws. So I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. There ought to be whistleblowers laws, because there are things that people need to come out and say. Okay? And if who you're working for is doing wrong things, it is a virtue, by the whistleblowers law yesterday, it is a virtue to come out and speak up the wrong things that your employer is doing. You might sacrifice some things as a result, but if your employer or your workplace is doing wrong things, it is a virtue to reveal it. It is not a wrong. It is, as a matter of fact, it might be a wrong if you don't reveal it. That is what I think would be wrong. So I think we differ and what people could we differ and the fact that not because somebody is the employer, mean you must remain silent. No, it might be wrong if they're doing wrong things and you remain silent. No, saying this, and this is why a lot of people are afraid to speak up, because if government fire you from one institution, you'll get fired from all, which is a large swath of the economy.
Yeah, we have.
And so a lot of people prefer to be wrong and don't say nothing.
Pause a while. There's another caller. Caller, go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Yes.
Morning.
You want him finished or can I comment?
Greg, you want to finish or?
Yeah, so what I'm saying again is that this is the reason why if we want to preserve freedom and liberty for the people, government must relinquish the overwhelming vast majority of what it is doing. And by the way, only the Bible can save us from our sins and from hell, nothing else.
Okay.
And only that is the word of God for us today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're going to hang up?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. McMahon, good day. You may.
Good morning to you and your listeners.
Yes, and
I hope he.
Don't forget
Cartencia. Good morning. Yes. Yeah. Well, never forget Cartencia. She wouldn't let me do that.
Oh,
boy. I hope Greg appreciated your point.
Yes.
About, not naming people like that.
Yes.
Okay. Some of us don't mind. I
Yes.
know myself and probably Mrs. Henry being who she is.
Yes.
Doesn't mind either.
Yeah.
But there are people
who do mind.
There are people who, yes.
Yes.
With regards I kind of agree with him about whistleblower legislation. I think we have it actually.
So do I.
Right. Because yes, lots of wrong things gone in government that needs to be exposed.
Yes.
It's the nature of government, and all of them with transparency and openness and all of that. But really and truly, it's like they're sworn to secrecy once they go into government. I don't understand that aspect of things. Right?
Yeah.
You deal with an open, transparent, and accountable government. You govern that way, and you wouldn't have half the problems that you have. Okay, but I guess it's the nature of government and politicians generally.
Yeah.
Do the opposite. Yeah, it's just that. But Greg should also appreciate that there are ethics involved.
Yeah.
Now, if you come across something that is illegal in your workplace, okay, you do have a duty to whistleblow.
Yes.
Illegal, right? And we should distinguish between what is illegal and what is just a difference in policy. If you have a difference in policy, in policy outlook to the organization that you're working for, then the ethical thing to do, you can express your
differences.
Yes, you can express that to whoever is in the hierarchy above you.
Yes.
Or if it continues and you're obviously being ignored, the ethical thing to do is resign.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. But you don't go around lambasting publicly the policies of the organization that you're working with.
Yes.
You're undermining the organization.
Yes.
I mean, I don't see, and that to me that seems so obvious. So to say that, well, me and Mrs. Henry was working in government and what, and we couldn't speak out. I mean, that's nonsense. Speak out against what in any case, right? I was working in education. Mrs. Henry, I think, was working in statistics. Two very benign places in government.
Yes.
So, virtually nothing happens there that you would probably need to go on, unless the procedures and so on have changed significantly.
Okay, Mr. McMahon, pause a minute. Hello, caller.
Good morning, good morning.
Yeah, good day.
What that Catencia?
Yes, please.
Hey, good morning. God bless you, child.
Thank you.
Today is my granddaughter's birthday. Adonis Henry.
Okay. Happy birthday, Adonis.
Yes, man. I tell you, girl, you passed the quarter century.
Oh, boy.
I give God thanks, you know. So your children shall come to call you blessed. Now, let me get to my good friend Greg. My job at the statistics department says everybody must take an oath. I used to carry them to the police, to the magistrate. They had to take an oath of confidentiality. The act is there. When I went down by Greg, I also had to take another oath. Even though I had one for my job, I had to take another oath to access the files at the Inland Revenue. Greg, no, I used to go to Greg. If I had a problem, I would talk to the commissioner or whatever of Inland Revenue.
Yeah.
And Greg had full access. He was the keeper of the records, so Greg no. Greg was mining the records. When I want a record, I would get it. If I go to Social Security, I had an oath.
Yes.
Within the office, we discussed the things. As I said, even with Inland Revenue, I would tell the commissioner, look, why don't I have went to so-and-so accounts? You need to have an auditor. Because sometimes I look at the accounts, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I said they need auditing that can be verified. So Greg can't say sitting on the other here and he read them because he had to look for them to give me.
Yes.
I made sure they come back. Anything I wanted.
And the
I
fact
had,
and the fact that you also had to take a note when you go into his administration
yeah, I
shows.
couldn't even work with anybody unless I took them.
Yes, so
I already had one for tax office, you know.
So
I had to carry them to the magistrate court for them to take the oath to go down Inland Revenue.
Yeah, so it shows that Greg is
I
well
had
aware.
2 oaths. One for my job as a statistician of the country, one for Inland Revenue, and down at Social Security because I got access to all of the files.
Yeah.
When I went to the private companies, they knew that I was under an oath. So I was not going to tell anybody whatever I see don't look right.
Yes.
I would even call them and say, Greg, why is so-and-so, so-and-so? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is exactly what...
Within the office, we could discuss it.
Yes.
So it isn't that, oh, you can't. That's not true. I was known to express myself because I handled a lot of confidential accounts. The treasury printout, you understand?
Yes, Miss Henry, could you let Miss
she explained it. She explained it pretty well.
Yes.
And for Greg to talk about it us being hypocritical for speaking out now. I mean, it is so ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
You know?
He was the one keeping the accounts. You couldn't get access to accounts unless you went down to Greg and looked for it and gave it to you and made sure you brought it back. So you know what was in them.
Right, and what you have to look out for too. A lot of people don't speak out because of fear of victimization. You can't call them hypocrites.
Yeah.
But you could talk within the office. Even when he gets the accounts, right? You could say, Mr. Whatever, this accounts look incomplete. Why are they always reporting a loss? Things like those were discussed.
Yeah.
And as I said, I had access to a lot. And the law says you are not to reveal any private, personal information.
Yeah.
So even if you came and asked me, Mrs. Henry, what does TDC also make or whatever, I will tell you, go over to TDC. No, I used to tell people so.
Yes.
Even people from one company say, Mrs. Henry, how is the economy? You know, they're fishing. They used to be fishing, but I am not in the fishing business. I used to say, look, ask the minister.
Yes.
Mrs. Henry, how is the economy? Until one of them cracked and said, Mrs. Henry is a hard egg to crack. Because I am professional enough to know. You're not asking me because you like me.
Yes.
But when you don't know, so I was well known. I couldn't even get promotion or nothing. When the information is, we discuss it within the office. So, because I don't understand Greg. Greg may be trying to ease his conscience. He had full access to every account. When I wanted to go to London, so I would go to Richardson. So to pretend that, oh, I had 2 oaths, I had 3 oaths in front of the magistrate. How many he had? He would have 1. So when you ain't got to go whistle nothing. If you're down inland revenue, you talk to the Commissioner of Inland Revenue. If you go down Social Security, you talk to the person in charge of the accounts. And when they come to, I used to go out to companies to do the extraction of the data, the financial statements. If they didn't trust me, they wasn't going to let me come.
Yes. But Miss Henry,
but also though, remember that there are people who are not in government who themselves can speak out, okay, but choose not to.
Yes, they know.
Okay, because they
know,
know that there will be repercussions, and you can't blame these people.
No,
really
you did the same thing, accusing one another.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't know. That's the rest.
In a nutshell,
it has to be a grievous complaint, you know.
In a nutshell, what we are saying is that there are protocols in every system, and they should be followed.
Yeah, and they're placed there for the protection of the person providing the information.
Yeah.
And importantly, distinguish between.
Yes, I can't give you that. I can tell you how many passengers to put to the airport.
Yeah, Miss Henry. Miss Henry. Miss Henry. Pause a minute, go ahead, Mr. McMahon.
I'm saying very importantly, we should distinguish between illegal activity and policy.
Yes.
Okay? There are 2 very different things. Nobody should condone illegal activity and should do whatever it takes to bring it to the authorities, the proper authority, so that it can be dealt with. Policy is something totally different.
Yes.
Okay? You can have a good policy and bad policies, yes, but your job, if you're working for a place that have a particular policy, is try to change it within the organization. If you want to go public with it, you should resign.
Yes.
And then, right.
Okay, well, let's take a bit of a commercial break. You wanted to make a final point, Miss Henry?
Happy birthday again to my granddaughter.
Okay. So we're going to take a bit of a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
If you live in low-lying areas, be aware of the possibility of tsunamis immediately after an earthquake. A strong earthquake lasting 20 seconds or more is a natural tsunami warning. Do not wait for an official warning. Gather your family members and evacuate immediately after the shaking stops. Don't delay. A tsunami could occur within minutes.
This message is sponsored by the Australian Government, AusAid, and produced by NEMA in collaboration with WinFM.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Build strong, grow together. Let Hartsford's building and Nevis centers lead the way. From tools to materials, we've got it every day. Hartsford's building and Nevis centers, a name you can trust. For every dream protect, don't go and build with us. Dream with us, grow with us, build with us today. Hartsford's is the partner that helps you pave the way.
Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea, only on Win Media 98.9.
And we are back on Island Tea, and as promised, with us in studio, we have the missionary mannequin. Now, this is not my first time seeing you, because I would have frequent Trinidad a few times, and I think I might have been lucky to see you in the showcase. So, good morning to Miss Judith DeVertul, and welcome to Island Tea. And can you tell us a little bit about what is a missionary mannequin?
Hi, good morning. Hi, good morning. Judith DeVertul here. I am so pleased to be in St. Kitts and Nevis. I usually travel where God sends me, so I'm where He asks me to go.
Okay.
In Trinidad, as my home country, it's the first place. It's my Jerusalem. Okay. So when God inspired me in November of 2000 to stand like a mannequin, I said, Lord, I can do that. Wow, He showed me in a vision, in a dream. And when I got up, I said, Lord, I'm going to do it to honor you and for the building of the kingdom. So I've been to most of the Caribbean islands and South America. Okay. I distribute tracts. I work with ministries wherever I go. And the objective is to spread the gospel.
So which ministry are you working here with here on St. Kitts?
Well, I contacted Church of God in Basseterre. They were to get back to me, but notwithstanding, I'm out there on the streets since I came Tuesday here, the 13th. Okay. And the important thing is winning souls for the kingdom.
Okay. So I see you have a lot of certificates and achievements here. I see you have an associated board of the Royal School of Music. So
yes, I am an overseas representative for the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music and Trinity College of Music, all out of England.
Okay.
I'm a music teacher.
Okay.
In fact, I'm principal of 2 schools in Trinidad. Okay. Mozart School of Music and Chess. Okay. I also met one of your chess representatives here yesterday. Okay. He promised me we'll get a game of chess next time I'm here. Okay, and nice. And I'm also principal of Paideio Learning Center, which is a school to help parents with children who have learning disabilities and reading disorders. I do literacy assessments.
Okay. I see your Bart.
Yes, that's through the school bartering book program. You will be aware, especially after COVID, that a lot of parents are struggling to make ends meet with getting the textbooks for their children. So I run a rental system for the books. They sign up, they pay a rental, they return the books for Form 1, they get Form 2. They return Form 2, they get Form 3. I do primary, secondary, and tertiary books. That's in Trinidad and Tobago, and I plan to offer my services throughout the Caribbean.
How hard was it? What the first time you did the mannequin pose? How hard was it for you to keep the pose and for us to believe that it's a mannequin? Because I had to double take, and every time I passed by either Frederick or Charlotte or wherever I passed, and I would see you, I was like, okay, that's the lady in the window again.
Yes, well, actually, when the Lord showed me, I went out and I tried and I realized that I could do it. And I was so humbled that God could show me what I was born to do. It's not difficult to do, it comes easily. What is difficult is the fact that we have an enemy of our soul who does not want the word of God to go forth. So you find he would send people to pelt me with nuts, with popcorn, poke me with the umbrella. Or you know, they do all manner of things. People make loud noises. And as you can see, I'm standing on a height. Right? And I don't want to fall. 25 years now. I've never fallen. I don't want to fall. Bless the Lord. But the enemy really tries to tire me out so that I would not be able to do what God has called me to do. One session is 2.5 hours, and that is because the guards of Buckingham Palace, they do 2 hours for one session.
Oh, wow.
So I have to do more for the kingdom of Almighty God, more than an earthly kingdom. So I go at least 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2.5, But it varies because remember the sun is moving.
Yeah.
So if I started in the shade, it
Yeah.
gets sunny.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just have a picture here to show. To show folks like this. Like you would have to look to make sure this is her in the middle. That this is a living person. She caught me a few times.
Yes.
She caught me a few times. Yeah, this one in the white, that's her right there, and she looks just like the mannequin. So you have to look keenly to realize that it is her. Here's the next one. Yeah, when I tell you she does an excellent job, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to see her in action for myself. She just stands there, she doesn't move, eyes nothing.
Only by the grace of the Almighty.
So how did you get to collab with the stores that you're normally in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, normally I will go in, ask for who is in charge, who is the owner of the store. For example, yesterday I was at Swag and Sway. So I went in and I asked for the person in charge. I told her that I saw there's a lovely space outside for a mannequin to fit. And if I could stand to the front of the store at no cost to her. And I gave her a sample of one of my tracks, which have information about my ministry and a verse of scripture. And she said, sure, go ahead. So I was welcomed. Excellent. But if the person roll their eye at me and say, not here, I simply go elsewhere.
Okay.
I go where I'm welcomed.
All right. So do you have anyone else that you're training for this, Miss Divertul? Because we all come to Earth for a short period of time, and we have to go back from whence we come. So, are you training anyone else to take up this position when you move on?
Well, actually, this position is not really a training; it must be a calling.
A calling, okay.
Yes, I was trained in pantomime, dance, and drama by TBN, Trinity Broadcasting Network, in 1995 in street ministry. So you will notice the white gloves.
Yes.
And we paint our face white, dress in black, and we do a silent demonstration on the street, and then other members of the group will interact with the public and say, I wonder why they're acting, why they're doing it, and then present a track and talk about the gospel. And so that is training, but in terms of the mannequin, it have to be a calling. It have to be what the person wants to do naturally. And one of my granddaughters actually been out on the street with me a few times, and she simply loves it.
Okay.
And so I don't know what God will do.
Okay.
But this granddaughter, along with her older granddaughter, two of them, say, Grandma, you should be on TikTok. When TikTok first came out, I said, me on TikTok? How can we do it? And they actually set up the account, they did the videos, and so the first set of videos. And I'm on TikTok about 5 years now.
Oh, okay.
And that TikTok information is also on the slip that I distribute.
Okay.
I've distributed over 50 slips since I've been here. And if people look at it, they would see the TikTok icon with the address. They would see Facebook. I'm on Facebook as well. And YouTube.
Okay.
With my WhatsApp number. But no calls during the day. The mannequin is supposed to be on the phone. Only text or voice note during the day, and I'll answer in the evening. I'm staying at Seaview Guest House, which, by the way, wonderful accommodations.
Okay.
And I'm getting my messages there very well.
Okay. So you said you did a stint at Swag and Sway?
Yes, I did.
Which other store or business establishment are you going to next to do your stint? So for folks that are seeing you here today, they know what you're about now to come and look for the missionary mannequin.
Okay. Two things I would like to mention. I go by inspiration. I'll be walking along the street and the Lord will quicken me on a point.
Okay.
I also ministered right downstairs of Seaview Guest House.
Okay.
Because in the afternoon when the children are passing, it's shade.
Yes.
Right. So I also ministered there. And I would like to take this opportunity to tell the young people, leave the mannequin alone. just read the sign and I will move. Some of them were very vociferous and they wanted me to move. So just read the sign and I have to bow to the name of Jesus. Philippians 2:10, every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus is Lord to the glory of God the Father, and they will get a slip from the basket and mints. I have mints in the basket as well. And sometimes I even put chocolate.
Oh, okay. Are you ever discouraged? You said like in Trinidad they poke you with umbrellas, they throw popcorns, they throw nuts. Do you ever feel discouraged? Do you not go back to that location? What do you do?
Well, in terms of one of those locations that you spoke of, security came over and said to me, ma'am, we can't accommodate you. It's too much people, too much activity, too much traffic. You know, because I've been places where traffic stop, highway, police have to come and rescue me. From the highway. Sometimes it's just too much. We can't keep up with you. You are still, but everybody else is stopping, you know. So I am guided by that as well. So I do keep that in consideration.
Okay. Well, we thank you for stopping in St. Kitts. Do you have plans to go to Nevis and other islands?
If the Lord says Nevis, because I was in the ferry terminal yesterday among the drivers and so on, and I inquired and they said the last sailing coming back goes at 7 to come back. So it depends, because it means I'll have to stay long enough to do the 2.5 hours and then get the sailing to come back, because I'm due to leave, unless the Lord says otherwise. I'm due to leave tomorrow, please God. Tomorrow morning.
Okay. So you said you've enjoyed your stay thus far. You're spreading the word of God.
Yes,
in
indeed.
Your unique way, being the missionary mannequin.
Yes.
As I said, I was blessed to see you a few times on both Frederick and
Look
Charlotte
at
Street.
that, small world.
Yeah, when I heard about it, I said, oh, I think I know who I'm going to see tomorrow. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, indeed. So we want to say any closing remarks as we wrap up?
I would like to say, as we pray for those in authority over us, that your Prime Minister, Mr. Terence True, and Ms. Gilbert, the Governor, that they both remember to rule with the knowledge that God Almighty is looking and
It's
watching. Libert, yes. Watching and looking at what we do, so that the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis could indeed live peaceable lives. That's actually a verse of scripture.
Okay. So have you gotten a chance to speak with either of the two?
No, I've been so busy standing still. I haven't. I haven't. But until such time, thank you so much for having me.
The pleasure was indeed mine. Yes, I'll take the caller. Caller, good morning. You're live on Island T.
Good morning, Hortensia. Good morning, Quinn.
Good morning.
And good morning to your esteemed guest.
Morning. He's saying good morning to you.
Oh, good morning.
Your esteemed guest happened to be someone that I dropped from the airport.
Oh.
I am the taxi driver that dropped you to Seaview.
Oh, yes.
And I'm a regular Island Tea stand.
Yes.
So I just want to wish you the best in all your endeavors. And I am unable to. You have my number, so give me a call.
Yes, will do. Thank you so much.
To the airport.
Thank you so much.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, all the best.
Okay, bye.
All right, thank you, caller. Wow.
Yes.
Small world we live in.
Yes,
and St. Kitts is
indeed.
not as big as Trinidad, so everybody remembers everybody.
That is excellent.
Yeah.
I've had such a warm welcome, and people really, and I wave as well. Yes, and they bow. Good. I'm having such a wonderful time. I pray that the Lord asks me to come back again.
Oh, I pray for that too, and I pray that He sends you to Nevis so they can see your talents. Because as I said, I saw your talents, and I'm like, wow. When the person said that's a real person, I'm like, really? So every
Yes.
time I walked by, I looked for you in all the windows.
Oh, the children do as well.
Oh,
In
okay.
Trinidad, after
Yeah.
school and evenings, they look for me in the windows in the malls.
Yeah.
At least the malls that accommodate people.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
No worry. Well, we pray that Jesus will allow all other places to accommodate you as
Yes.
redemption draweth nigh and the word is needed to be spread.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed. So thank you again, Ms. Devertool. It was indeed my pleasure. And I hope when you return, I get the chance to speak with you again.
I will keep
and
you
tell
informed.
me of your new adventures.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Hey, have you heard about the water shortage in our area?
Yeah, it's pretty serious. I've been trying to conserve water as much as possible.
Me too. I've started taking shorter showers and turning off the faucet when I brush my teeth.
Well, that's great. Another way to save water is to fix any leaks in your house.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. How much water can a leak waste?
A small leak can waste up to 20 gallons of water daily, which can really add up over time.
Wow, that's a lot. And have to check for any leaks in my house.
But another good tip is to only run your dishwasher and washing machine when they're full to save water and energy.
I'll keep that in mind. It's important that we all do our part to conserve water, especially during this shortage.
Absolutely. Every drop counts.
This message was brought to you by the St. Kitts Water Services Department. Learn more at water.gov.kn.
Here are your hosts with Value Mart IGA Special.
Running May 1st to May 14th.
Now, our Value Club Blue Tag Specials. Post Great Grain Cereals, just $18.99. Essential Everyday Cream Cheeses, just $7.99 each. Stone Ridge Premium Ice Cream, $17.99. Terra Chips, just $15.99. Nabisco Ritz Chips and Crisp Thins, $17.99. Essential Everyday Canned Dog Food is just $8.69. And now, our very low weekly
value deals. Essential Everyday Croutons, $6.99. Nature Valley Granola Bars, $12.99. Juicy Juice, 100% juice, $13.99. Extra Liquid Laundry Detergent, $12.99. Soft Soap Liquid Hand Soap, $6.99. Suave Deodorant, $8.99. Shop Smart, Shop Value Mart, tell them in Spanish.
Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí en Value Mart.
Do you want to know what's happening in sport? Tune into On the Ball, a weekly tour show which is on WinFM 98.9 every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. with me, your host, Troy Biff Mills. We will keep you on the ball with our variety of guests and, of course, your calls, discussing the facts and the stats and sharing your opinions. Get on the ball and stay on the ball by tuning into On the Ball with Troy Biff Mills on WinFM 98.9 every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. and also on Facebook and YouTube. Be on the ball.
Let TDC Financial Services help you go for your goals. Whether you're thinking of taking that grand vacation, down payment on a house, higher education, TDC Financial Services has various plans that will allow you to go for your goals. Choose from the Accumulator Plus, Investment Starter Plan, and Fixed Deposit. Ready to go for your goals? Visit us at TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea, only on Win Media 98.9.
And as promised, we are back here on Island Tea, and we have the Rotary Club of St. Kitts here in studio with us. I'll let Ms. Tullisford introduce herself once more and the guest that we have with us this morning.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for having us again. So as promised, I brought the professionals with me this time around so that we can get some more insight into the importance of the prostate screening that's coming up. So my name is Carlene Telesford. I'm the Public Image Chair, and with me I have Dr. Thwaites and Dr. Kerwin. They're going to be part of the medical team that's carrying out the exercise on Saturday. And again, this is going to be happening on Saturday, May 17th at the Masonic Lodge in Taylor's Range, starting from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's completely free. No appointments required. You just walk in, you get registered. We have a large team of volunteers there to support you.
Okay. So, Dr. Thwaites, over to you. She has done the introduction. What role do you play in the program, and how many years have you been active in this program since its rollout?
You already asked the hard questions. Good morning to the listening public.
We know you can handle it.
Exactly.
It's good to see you, Hortensia.
Same
Now, we've been around for a while. We've been doing prostate screening in the Eastern Caribbean for a considerable amount of time. We started back, when did we start, Brian? About 2007.
2007 or so?
Yeah, 2007, and we've been back and forth. We first started out between Nevis and Antigua, and then a couple of years later we started doing the screening in St. Kitts. One of the things, and what struck us the most about collecting the data, was that majority of the patients that we were seeing who were positive for prostate cancer was coming from St. Kitts,
wow.
Even though we were doing the screening more so in Nevis. And so I got together with the Rotary Club and the Lodge, and we decided that it was necessary to also do the screening in St. Kitts, and so we started doing it about 7 years ago. Okay. We've been doing the screening, and thanks to Rotary and thanks to the Lodge for helping out, and we've been screening the men in St. Kitts. Since then, our numbers have been running between 4 to 500
yeah,
people
that's correct. That's
on
correct.
a yearly basis, and it has progressively been getting better and better. I think one of the things that we are seeing, especially in St. Kitts, is the phobia for coming out to do the prostate screening, and that has been a big problem with St. Kitts, and men coming out to do the screening, and we do pick up more prostate cancer in St. Kitts than we do in Nevis. In Antigua and Nevis, we screen every year about 1,000 people. 1,000 men will come out for the screening, whereas St. Kitts will get 300-400. One time I think we got up to maybe close to 500. And so for some reason they don't come out, even though we do all of this and we talk and we reach out to the church. It's a big phobia for doing the screening. And I usually get across to them, it's better to put a finger in than to put your foot in the grave.
Yeah.
And so majority of the cancer I pick up in this federation, St. Kitts and Nevis, is more so from St. Kitts rather from the other countries. And we've been screening consistently, as I said, for 14, 15 years, St. Kitts, Nevis, Antigua, and about 7 years in St. Kitts.
Let me interject, if I may. I'm one of those individuals. I wouldn't call it a phobia. I would call it just being uncomfortable. With the way science is progressing, do you foresee in the future a way where this could be done without the finger, with some other means? Because we in the Caribbean, I myself, I will not put myself through that, point blank. And there are many who think like I do. So, do you foresee ways of dealing with this in the future? Science is progressing, so why are you using this medieval means of testing men?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your questions, I'm pretty sure Brian can comment a little bit more. We have tried to look at many different ways of going about doing the testing for the exam, but the best results we see is the combination of both the digital rectal examination and the PSA. Together, we get a good sensitivity in doing so. One of the entities that we see, and we had seen the numbers progressed a lot in St. Kitts, where we have, and there is an entity where you have normal PSA, but an abnormal digital rectal exams. And for about 2 years, more so between St. Kitts and Antigua, we've seen people who have come in with the blood jar, which is normal, and yet still on digital rectal examination, we've found some masses. But there have been numerous attempts to do other thieves testing to see what they could pick up in terms of sensitivity in prostate cancer. And most of them, the results are not as good as the combination of the two, the prostate screening with the digital rectal exam and the PSA. We've looked at some doing urination. And just the other day, I was reading 2 articles where they're now getting having some dogs doing the sniffing of the urine to see if they could pick up the PSA. The other thing about some of these other tests that you are suggesting is the cost effectiveness is just not appropriate. Brian?
I mean, you could do an MRI, and that's a highly sensitive test to look for prostate cancer. It still requires a biopsy afterwards, so you don't ever get rid of some sort of invasive aspect of diagnosing prostate cancer. But the cost and the 45-minute MRI to screen people is not feasible in any country, let alone here. Obviously, we've only got one thing that's directly attached to our brain, and it's our finger, and that's the best way that we can examine people.
So give me an idea of the cost, Green. Just a ballpark figure.
The cost of what?
The MRI and what you're saying is very costly.
I mean, in the United States, it's so dependent on what insurance is, but I'm sure they probably charge insurance. An imaging company or an imaging center probably charges insurance $50,000 US dollars, I guess. And that's not what the individual pays, but
correct.
It's significant.
Yeah,
MRI over here is about $22,000.
About close to $3,000 for an
about.
MRI. And that
about,
adds to the cost of just doing a visit and an examination. So a lot of the people, and I do discuss the cost with most of the people as, what would you want to do? Can you go away and get an MRI? If that's feasible to you, yes. But again, majority of our population, and this is a free screening, sponsored by Rotary and everything, and it gives you just as good or even better results from the examination at a cost which is affordable for most of the people. My colleague on my right might be able to go ahead and get an MRI, but there are people out there who just need. Some people don't even come to the doctor because they can't afford to come to the doctor to do the examination or do the screening. This is one of the good things about what we're doing now. It's available, free, and thanks to Rotary Club, thanks to the lodge, that this can be done here, and then you do the follow-up after it. Yes. And so it's important to understand cost effectiveness of what we're doing. Yes, there are other things that they're doing out there, but again, more and more, the cost becomes a big problem for most people.
And we want to reach as many people as we can. As you would have mentioned, Dr. Thwaites, the population in St. Kitts has been reluctant, so we want to continue to
there are men who will do it. And you have professed that the numbers are increasing.
Correct.
But there are men who won't do it. And I'm one of those who won't do it.
But that might be to their detriment.
Well, so be it. I'm not afraid to die. But I won't put myself through that process. I just won't.
I would say that, Dr. Thwaites and I have certainly seen men that have advanced stage prostate cancer. One of the places where prostate cancer spreads is into the vertebrae. So it gets into the bones that surround the spinal column, and once it grows there, it can impinge on your spinal cord, and we see men that wind up incontinent of urine, incontinent of stool, can't walk anymore. I mean, it's not a pleasant way to go, and if you could spend 3 minutes of your time getting a blood test and getting a finger placed into your rectum to examine your prostate once a year for the next 10, 15 years of your life until you get old enough that it's probably not going to be an issue for you. Right. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, for me, I'm speaking just for myself. So far, so good. I won't do it.
But again, you bring up a point with that comment as well about why we screen for prostate cancer. Prostate cancer doesn't cause any symptoms. You could have prostate cancer sitting there right now. Dr. Thwaites could have prostate cancer sitting here right now. I could have prostate cancer sitting here right now. And none of us would know it because it doesn't cause any symptoms until it's too late. And when it causes symptoms, it's spread outside the realm of the prostate. And our chance to cure you is basically zero at that time. We can manage things for a while, but we can't ever cure you at that point in time.
Yeah, and the purpose for screening and the reason why we screen, and not only for prostate cancer, for any disease entity, diabetes, you screen because you know if you pick up the disease entity, you could treat it and you could get a cure. One of the big things that we're seeing here is that men will come in and say to you, oh, I don't have no symptoms, I don't feel anything, but then they're diagnosed with prostate cancer. Or the men who come in who have ignored it, when they come in to be screened, it's already too late, it has spread, they have back pains, they have hematuria, which what Brian is saying, bleeding, and they just, and you know, they can't ambulate, they have, and that's the time they come in, and that's when we pick up the disease entity. So, and the other point is, we have a good 95% cure rate for prostate cancer if picked up early during the screening process. So most of the men that we're seeing now that come in for their screening on an annual basis, if we do pick up prostate cancer, we pick it up early, we can cure you. Whereas the men who ignore and who are very stoic and don't want to be examined for prostate cancer end up coming in too late and we can't do anything for them. And so, and
You have a caller. You want to take the caller?
Okay, caller, go ahead. Excuse me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. One thing that part of the explanation, I think it's irrational, this notion, and let me put it bluntly, I don't want anyone putting their finger up my bum. And as someone whose father had prostate cancer, I can tell, and based on accounts I've heard from other people who have had it, those of us who are afraid of someone putting their finger up our bum, in its worst stages, if someone could get their fist up there to remove the pain, they would give permission to do it. So the notion that I'm not afraid to die, well, the individual may not be afraid to die, but what about the individual's families who are left behind, who no longer have a breadwinner, who have the stress to deal with when the person who is not afraid to die may die or becomes incapacitated and unable to work. And so as someone who, in light of a history of prostate cancer in his own family, has had that test done at least twice every year, I can assure you the entire process does not last 6 seconds. I can assure you that it does not do anything towards about one's masculinity. I can assure you that just having an assurance that there is no change between the last time the exam was conducted and the current one is a very reassuring sense. And so I would appeal to every male over the ages that the medical people there would recommend to go out and get this thing done. It is literally pain-free. The amount of pain is a very, very short stab of pain that disappears relatively quickly. It is worth doing. I'm just pleading and begging. It is worth doing. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's
Thank you, caller.
that was quite appropriate.
Let me interject again, because I'm very adamant. I'm not saying as I said, your numbers have increased. Men are doing it. Kudos to them. But you must understand, in life there are individuals who have their own mentality, make their own decisions, and live with the consequences. At my stage in life, I have 5 children. If there was a surgeon in here and I said to her, I'm one of those individuals who says, I came into the world this way and I will go out of the world this way. When I reach that stage, if depending on whatever, I say to my kids, okay, well, why do you want to spend that kind of money on me? You have your life to live your life. I've been around a good while. When my time has come to go, I'll go. It's something that I've mentally already prepared myself for. So I can hear all that you say about getting this and getting it and you know, getting it early and that. Yeah, that goes for other individuals. But me, I will not do it.
It sounds like you've got your mind made up, and you certainly are entitled to
Yes.
your opinion about that. And we're not telling you that you aren't, but hopefully, you're the kind of person that we want to convince and we want to reach. With
But
this
you
kind-
won't.
That we want to reach with this kind of information that we're putting out there, and why we
Mhm.
get up and come to a radio station to speak to the people on the island.
Correct.
And
Yes.
hopefully there are more that we can convince to come out. And
Hopefully.
unfortunately, you're not one of them, and that's
Yeah.
that's
We
again,
have another caller.
You're right to make that decision.
Caller, go ahead.
Yes, good morning. For the panel, before they get off, can we have them explain what happens internally when a male gets prostate cancer? And part B, the corrective procedure. Can they explain the corrective procedure? And also, why can't we move towards providing the option to those persons like Quint who has that, phobia? And in the USA, I'm seeing that they have a company named Color Guard. All they ask you to do is to poop in a package. They deliver the package FedEx or something. You poop in it, seal it up, and return it, and it goes to a lab and gets tested.
That's for colon
Why
cancer,
can't we
not prostate
advance
cancer.
and look into getting that done? Whether we would bring people in to train to examine the poop, whether we could set up a small lab or something on island. Why can't we get persons to come in and train, local persons to, examine the poop? And thanks.
So again, Cologuard is a screening test that's used for colon cancer. So it's a totally different kind of cancer that, even though we use the rectum, we're not doing colorectal cancer screening, we're doing prostate cancer screening.
Yeah.
Cologuard, you're correct, you do poop in a container and send it off to a lab somewhere, but they're looking for other things that are related to colorectal cancer, not prostate cancer, so that it wouldn't be applicable in this instance.
Yeah.
And I'll let Dr. Thwaites talk about, treatment options for prostate cancer.
Yeah. I'll get to the treatment options for prostate cancer. But one of the things we know, and the Caribbean is a high-risk population for prostate cancer. It's 4 times higher in the black population than in the Caucasian population. And we consider just being born black is one of the risk factors. Age is another risk factor, and genetics, as the guy previously told you about his family. So genetics become. So those are 3 risk factors which you can't really change. Okay? So we have, and most of the literature coming out of the Caribbean from Jamaica will tell you prostate cancer is of epidemic proportion in the Caribbean in itself. And so that tells you that we need to be abreast and we need to be aware of what's going on with prostate cancer amongst our people in the Caribbean. Again, the late stage, we can't do anything for. T4 disease, stage 4 disease, what are we going to do? And what we do when we treat those diseases is just control. So once the person comes in and we evaluate the person, be it via PSA and the digital rectal examination, the digital rectal examination will tell you for sure if there's a mass, more than likely might be prostate cancer. So it says, look, you can go straight to the biopsy. With an elevated PSA, sometimes I check for other disease entity which can cause an elevated PSA. And if the PSA is elevated and I can't treat anything that will bring it down, I usually repeat the PSA, and then if it's still high, then we proceed to biopsy. If the biopsy is positive for prostate cancer, especially, again, bear in mind, early stage prostate cancer, we pick it up at the screening. If the person understand what Brian just said, he said screening for colon cancer. Again, the most impactful word is screening, and because these diseases have no signs or symptoms when you get to with the early stage disease and you pick them up. So once we have a positive biopsy for prostate cancer, we then proceed, and usually for the early stage prostate cancer, we discuss the treatment options, which are usually 3. One is called active surveillance. We can watch the disease entity, and we do it every 3 months. PSA, you follow up, make sure there is no changes. If there's no changes, we will repeat the biopsy in about a year, 8 months to a year, and then we proceed to doing twice yearly. Every 2 years, we'll do a biopsy. If nothing changes, we are quite happy with that, and we can watch you. One of the reasons we have the ability to watch the disease, because we know there are two types. One is very aggressive, and that's usually the ones we pick up during their early years, earlier younger people, very aggressive, versus the one that is very indolent, or it just sticks around, it doesn't do anything. If the PSA don't changes, we just keep watching you, and that's called active surveillance, and this is for low stage, low grade disease. Then the next option, we have two options that are available for treatment for you, which will be radiation therapy versus surgical therapy. Most people will tell you that doing the surgical treatment would be the best way to take care of the disease entity, because you get in and you take out the prostate gland and you try and take out all the prostate cancer that is inside, and these people do very, very well. 95%, 5 years and out survival, doing very well. That's with the surgery. They have two options in surgery: robotic surgery versus open surgery. Nowadays, I don't think you guys are doing open surgery up north anymore, right, Brian?
I can't. Most people are getting robotic surgery.
Our other colleague Wesley is a proctor for robotic surgery, so he can talk a little bit more about the robotic surgery option. But I usually give people the choices: robotic surgery versus open. And for the robotic surgery, I usually send them up north to Wesley, one of the guys and this is very good for St. Kitts and Nevis, that we have these physicians who come down here to help us with the screening. I can always refer you back up north to see these guys, and they will do robotic surgery, because we don't have a robot in the Eastern Caribbean. The closest place we might get a robot would be Santo Domingo. But Eastern Caribbean, no robot. And most people are going towards robotic surgery, most younger people, because of nerve preservation, which is really good. You can see the nerves visibly, boldly in front of your face, less bleeding, small incisions for the robotic. But we can do the open surgery, which is what I can offer you here. To do the open surgery, we go in, we take out the prostate gland. Bigger incision, a little bit more bleeding. Might be able to spare the nerves just as the robot with some magnification, but we can't do that. And then you have the other options that are available, which is radiation. External beam, you go for an hour a day, 5 days a week for 7 weeks for treat the prostate cancer, and try and then you have seed implants where we put in some radioactive seeds. And also there is the other method, which we call stereotactic body radiation, which is an escalating dose of radiation for about approximately a week or two. Now, I could tell you this for sure: a lot of the men in St. Kitts and Nevis have gone off and done robotic, have done SPRT, have done radiation treatment, and they're back and they're doing very well. There are people that are walking around with you who will do so. But those are the options that are available. Again, the cure rate for early stage, stress this most importantly, 95%. That's almost what when you go to school, you get an A. Yeah. That's an A grade right there, you know what I mean? So it's important to understand these things. But I'm going to slip out and get Wesley to come in and talk a little bit about the robot and what's available and all that stuff. Wesley?
So Wesley, we have about a minute and a half, okay?
Oh, wow.
So good morning and welcome in, Wesley.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Our pleasure.
So to touch a little bit on what Dr. Cohen and Dr. Thwaites have already highlighted, the focus of my practice is mainly in robotics, and one of the benefits of doing robotic surgery is that for patients who have prostate cancer, where it's caught early, essentially what we would do is go in, remove the prostate, remove the cancer, and the surgery is done through very tiny holes in the body. Recovery is very quick. There are very minimal side effects, and within a week or two, the patient is back to their regular activities. And so it is essentially the best way to treat the cancer surgically nowadays. Okay. Now, what we also know is that for patients who may not be able to come up north to have the surgery, doing the surgery, the open technique that Dr. Thwaites referred to, is also highly effective, because the key thing is early detection, finding the cancer, removing the cancer, and then the patient can have a good quality of life and basically avoid having advanced stage cancer, which is very problematic.
Okay, so Dr. Cohen, any closing remarks? And then I'll let Carlene close out with all the information that's needed for the gentleman to come tomorrow. And Nevis is invited as well, right?
Of course.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
I'm just happy for the opportunity to come down here to beautiful island of St. Kitts, and look forward to seeing as many men as possible on Saturday, including our gentleman across the screen there. I wink at
Ms. Dallasford.
Thank you. I just want to say
good bit of humor, you know.
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Twaits, Dr. Cohen, Wesley, for the information this morning. It was very insightful. I'm happy to hear the engagement coming from our listenership as well. So just a reminder, the free prostate screening is happening this Saturday, May 17th at the Masonic Lodge in Taylor's Range. We will be supporting with free rides from the clinics around the island starting from 7 a.m. for anyone who has any challenges getting there. There will also be breakfast on sale for $20 being put on by the Interact Club. And in addition to the prostate screening, you can also get your free HIV test done, your blood pressure and diabetes test. So it's a one-stop shop. Please take the time out to come get screened. As Dr. Twaits would have said, and I think I want to coin that phrase, one finger in is better than a foot in the grave.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I was just about to say that. And most importantly, what she just said, you can screen for other disease entity, diabetes, HIV, and that's important to understand. Again, the term out there that I want the general public to understand is screening. The purpose of screening is that we can pick up the disease early in its development, and the point about screening is that we can treat you and cure you, which is the most important thing. Again, it's better to put a finger in than to put your foot in the grave.
Alrighty, thank you so much for
you so
coming in and enlightening. And gentlemen, please go out tomorrow and get your very free screening. Thank you.
Saturday.
We're different.
Saturday.
We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Let's get real on WinFM. Hi, this is Lavi. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on WinFM. Get ready for an hour of real talk that will keep you engaged and informed, bringing you insights, the hottest topics of the moment, and perspectives that matter from the runway to the political arena. Real talk with Lavi covers all. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on WinFM.
You are a VIP with CIBC Caribbean. Spend US $100 or local equivalent with your CIBC Visa credit card for your chance to win a crop over VIP experience in Barbados. An expenses paid trip for two, staying at the Courtyard by Marriott Hotel, cultural tours, and aura experience with full glam makeup, plus tickets to the hottest last lap events. Visit CIBCCaribbean.com/cropover 2025 for more info. Conditions apply.
The importance of co-parenting. Every child has the right to bond with the parents that gave them life. Children are happiest when they can freely communicate and enjoy the time, talents, and lessons that each parent brings to the relationship.
We make co-parenting difficult when we focus on differences rather than what is in the best interest of our children. Parents, your relationship with each other should never affect the relationship you have with your child. Celebrate your children together. They deserve your best. A message brought to you by the Department of Probation and Child Protection Services. Contact us at 467-1311 or 662-6833 for more information.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on Win Media 98.9.
Alrighty, and we're back on Island T, and as promised, we have the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards with us this morning. In studio, I have Mr. Jermaine Mike, and as I briefed him in a few correspondences and just now about the concerns that are being touted out there concerning the labeling, the people that are, I like to say cash-strapped. I don't like to use the word poor. And how labeling their products can help, what the St. Kitts Bureau of Standards can do to help them as well. So, Mr. Mike, good morning, welcome, and you can just introduce yourself and let them know what the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards is about.
My name is Jermaine Mike. I'm the Deputy Director at the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards. No problem. Yes, my name is Jermaine Mike, and I'm the Deputy Director at the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards. We do a plethora of things, actually. We do air quality, we do metrology, that is the science of measurements, where we go out and we test or verify scales, supermarket scales, airport scales. Remember back in the day when you used to go to the airport and fighting with the people saying, you know, I wear my bag home and now.
Still happens.
Well, check and see if their scale is calibrated. You should see a Bureau of Standards sticker there.
Yeah.
And if there is no Bureau of Standards sticker, you have some merit to say, well, you know.
You're being cheated.
You're being cheated,
Okay.
right?
Is this important to you?
Right, so that's some of the stuff that we do. We make sure that when you go to the gas station, you get the amount of gas that you want and whatnot. We also do a lot of the microbiological and the chemical testings, especially on water, right? Packaged water, anything that is used for trade, food that is used in trade, we would do that. And that is, for today, we have 3 regulations. One for goods, general goods, whether that is electronics, a washing machine, a fridge, whatever the case may be, a knife. Then we have labeling of prepackaged food, right? And then we have one for packaged water, or bottled water, as we would say in layman's terms, right? So those are the 3 that we are pushing. Now, I have heard a lot of comments, actually, on us pushing these legislation, but I want to remind the public that it is since 2015 when we had these as a standard, and there's a difference between a standard and a technical regulation. A standard is a set of guidelines in which compliance is not mandatory. Basically what we are saying is that you have the choice, you can volunteer to do it or not. And so since 2015, you know, the term that the politicians use in St. Kitts is moral persuasion, right? We've been using moral persuasion to try and get people to label their products. I myself, personally, have used my own funds and so forth to go to Nevis, back and forth, having workshops with agro-processors, other people of different consumer groups. I have gone here in St. Kitts and Nevis, around, having it, coming, staying back from work, 7 o'clock in the night and so forth, to have these workshops and so forth, right, for people to try and get them to come up. This is when I was using, as we say, voluntary compliance, sorry, not voluntary compliance, moral persuasion, right? Yeah. And so we were doing that for a number of years. When we, at the time when the morning show was at the Sugars Bay, the Sugars building at up there. We were up there grinding away to try and get people to see the benefit of labeling their products, right? So we did put in the work in terms of doing that, and still, when we go out, or when I go out sometimes, I would see others on the street. I made a small business card to give out for free, and I was giving them out for free on the street. And I remember this lady said, at the time, I think it was Labour in power at the time, and she essentially, I mean, she almost spit on me, actually, to say, you know, to use to try and paraphrase, doggy killing poor people, to try and asking us to put asking us to put label on our products. Then Timothy Harris came into power, right? And the same rhetoric came in that, Timothy Harris killing poor people to put this and so forth. And now, this current government, and it is the same thing, but nobody is talking about the time when we were doing it voluntarily. Come to 2023, we put it as a regulation. In October of 2023, we put it as a regulation. We broadcasted it and so forth, right? We have the documentation to prove that we were on the various radio stations, right? We have it. People called in as well, saying it's a very good thing and so forth, right? And we've been going out. Still, I have been doing workshops and so forth, right? Working with different groups, ministries, trying to get that. And this is in 2025, and we have not gone out with the big stick to say, put a label on your product. So despite that it was a regulation, we were not regulating.
Okay.
And it was a regulation, right? And so now we have said, you know what, enough is enough.
Yes.
We're going to give you a deadline up until December 31st to put a label on your product. Now, I don't think that this is a big ask. We're saying that we're saying the very first thing that we jump to is to say that we're killing poor people, right? But what about fair trade? What about the right for the consumer choice? What about the public health, right? Old people, and I do not like to use, let's say elderly people, right? Elderly people buy from the same elderly people that are selling their products, that are walking up and down the street, right? Children go and buy from those same elderly people. Pregnant women go and buy from those same elderly people. Are we to just say we're killing poor people, right? While circumventing the right to choice and health of the consumer? We cannot do that. There have to be some kind of fair trade. You must give people the information of what it is that they're buying and putting into their body. Right? As a matter of fact, the same place that we tend to use a lot of PET bottles, right? We tend to use a lot of
What's a PET bottle?
PET bottles are those same water bottles that you will see.
The plastic ones?
The plastic bottles, right? I forget what the acronym stands for, polyethylene something.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I'm not sure.
Right? The same place that they buy these bottles offer the labels.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been to stores where I've seen people bringing in their products. I've told them about it, and they straight up looked me in the eye and said, "Me nah do none." Sorry for the colloquialism.
Nah, that's the way to go. That's the way to
go. But they watch me in my eye and tell me, "Me nah do none." I've been at gas stations, right, where I've passed on the message to maybe the sales clerk, and they would tell me, "You know what? You know, you're right," and I will tell them. And then the next time I go back, they said, "You know what, Mr. Mike? I did tell them," and they said, "I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it." So there have been some stark opposition for whatever reason, I do not know. But I do not understand how people can think that it is correct to go and buy something without informing people what it is that they are buying. You cannot go in any supermarket, any place, and buy something without a label.
But don't you think we, the consumers, have encouraged that for so many years that now that's why they say it's difficult? People have eaten my stuff for years. Nobody got sick. Nobody never come back to me and said they're allergic. And as a people, even if we got a little sick, I don't think none of us go back and say your food poisoned me, your ice pop made me throw up. I don't think we go back and say any of that.
Maybe for some reason, I would agree with you that we have maintained or encouraged this culture, right? And I would agree that sometimes you may go, you consume the food and you get sick. But because it didn't have on a label, you couldn't go back and tell that person you made me sick.
Yeah, you made me sick.
Because you don't know who you're buying it from. You may have seen the person walking around in town or sitting, say that you're going to give them a sale. It got you sick. Come back tomorrow, they're not there. You can't say you can.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
No, they're not stationed.
They're not stationed. You don't know. You have nobody to call. You just be like, if I see that person again, I'm just not going to buy it. Or I'm going to give it another chance.
Very brave of us.
Okay. Let me interject. I for one don't have a problem with the labeling because we know the importance of it. And this is something we discussed quite recently also. Now, one of the things that came up is the question of, is the labeling going to be across the board? Because we brought up the example of bakeries who have their commodities and so on and so forth, and we buy them the raisin roll, the this, the that. And we ask the question is, we know when we go abroad or we go into the supermarket, everything has a label, which you asserted too. And for instance, if you take up a pack of cupcakes, it tells you the ingredients in the cupcakes and the nutritional value and so on and so forth. So if you eat it, for instance, or if you see peanuts in it and you know that you have an allergy to peanuts, you're not going to buy it.
Yep.
So where the question came up as to, is this going to be across the board, and how are you going to deal with bakeries and all that kind of stuff? Because this is something, even though you want it implemented, how we see it, it's going to still take some time. Even though, for instance, now you say we're making it mandatory. Is that what you're saying?
We're making it mandatory, and I think when you say that it will take some time, we're in 2025. This is 10 years. I think a decade is enough time, in my opinion.
I hear what you're saying, but hear what I am saying. Here's
Yes.
what I am saying. I am saying, due to the fact, let's use the bakeries alone as an example. Due to the fact that we don't see every item labeled with the ingredients and so on and so forth, how fast then do you think this will be? You think because you said it's mandatory, they're going to implement it, or if not, you're going to enforce? That's what I'm getting at.
So, when it comes to there are some nuances to the labeling regulations, right? So, for example, if you go to the bakery, right? Typically, you go to the bakery, you can see what it is that you're given, and as long as you're buying it from the bakery, typically, you do not need a label, typically, right? However, if you're going to put that same product, prepackaged and so forth, in the supermarket, then it requires a label. Here's another nuance, right? And sometimes you just kind of have to read the regulations. But here's another nuance. During the Christmas time, we have people popping popcorn, right?
Yes, yeah.
You come out, and if you pop that popcorn in front of people, they can see what it is that they're getting, right? They don't need a label. However, if you pop that popcorn home and prepackage it and come out on the street to sell it, you need a label. So there are some nuances when it comes, so that even when it comes to single ingredient items, like if you have peanuts, you don't need a label.
But here's a scenario though, the popcorn. You pop the popcorn in front of the people, and I partake of the popcorn and I get sick. Here's it. It depends on the whether they use what kind of butter, whether they use sweet oil, whether they use whatever. For instance, table butter, I have a sort of an allergy to it. You know, that kind of it has a scent that is different. From the time I buy it and I open the container, I can smell it, and it makes me feel a kind of way. So that scenario that you gave with the popcorn, I saw the popcorn being popped, but I didn't know what kind of butter or whatever they use to pop the popcorn, because maybe they have it melted, pre-melted, or they have it in a container, whatever. I get sick. Then I seek to, just using a hypothetical, I seek legal redress. That is still a problem. So what you're saying in terms of how you put it forward, you're still open to having problems. So I am saying, if you're going to say, well, it must be labeled, then it should be labeled.
Labeling is across the board, whether any product that is manufactured here in St. Kitts and Nevis or it is being imported into St. Kitts and Nevis. That is what we mean when we say across the board. And we're not putting any prejudice or bias on any one entity, company, or individual. That's what we mean when it's across the board. However, We understand that we do also have some cultural differences, and there is some nuances within the regulation that allows for some things to not have a label, right? Which I pointed out.
Like peanuts, you said?
Yes, like if you have something that is prepared right in front of you, are actually seeing what is going into that product.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask your question right there. Whereas opposed to if you're pre-packaging it,
Mm-hmm.
that's a total, and that is why the labeling regulation is called pre-packaged food.
Mm-hmm.
Not labeling of food, labeling of pre-packaged food.
Mm-hmm.
There are some instances, for example, when it comes to catering as well, right? You should not be going to ask if this is what they call it, festival rice. I don't know. Festival rice. You should not be going to ask and say, does that rice have in raisin? I don't know if they put raisin in festival rice, but you should not be going to ask if that is if that festival rice have in raisin. It should have a general tab to show that this is festival rice. It has in this and this.
Raisins, pork, chicken.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. When it comes to the chicken, you're supposed to say, okay, you shouldn't guess whether this is based on how it looks. You should not guess and say if this is chicken or if this is lamb or whatever the case may be. You should just know based on the labeling.
So you said this is for catering. So at buffet,
some of it, yes.
buffet,
Yes.
do they need to put all of that too at the buffet?
Yes.
But here's also another problem, because you use a bakery as an example where you said that because it's the bake. But I think from the Bureau of Standards perspective, that is a cop-out, because I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. You didn't see the ingredients being baked. You don't know what is in, for instance, particular pastry or whatever. You don't know when you buy it that it will cause you some sort of ailment, and you buy it. And next thing you know, let's say a foreigner comes and goes, so this is not what I'm looking at, because me as a local, I don't have a problem buying the product, and because it's part of our social trend. But I'm saying the Bureau of Standards is showing a sort of a double standard here, in my opinion, where you're saying that the bakery that has a variety of different goodies that have been done that we haven't seen the process of it being done, and you're saying that they should be given some leeway. Is that what I'm understanding?
Given leeway in the term that you're going to the establishment is stationary. You can go and contact that person. You go there and you can ask for a pork bread. You can, and here's what I mean. For example, if you go to the supermarket, right? On the bakery things.
Yes.
You go to the supermarket. In a corner, they have, or in the bread section, they have bread in plastic, prepackaged. You do not know whether this comes from Bass Bakery. You do not know whether this comes from Freights. You do not know whether this comes from Amway. You go and you pick up that bread, and something you feel slighted. Maybe it has in a cockroach. I don't know. It has in a cockroach. I don't know. Right? You don't know who
a
that.
Cockroach leg, because I've seen that.
You don't know. You don't know which bakery that comes from.
Yes.
You go to the establishment. You go to the bakery itself, and you say, "I want this bread." You know exactly where you get it from.
Yes, you can go back there.
You can go back there. There has to
Make
be
your
some
claim.
basic. It has to be some. It may not be as extensive as a beverage in terms of having
all of the ingredients.
All of
yes.
right.
Yes.
It may not be as extensive of that, but you know where you got that bread from. And that is what that is what I mean when I say that there is some leeway, because you actually go into a brick and mortar establishment. You're right there.
And we have a caller.
Yes.
Caller, go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Hello. Yes. I see you strapped for time. So there are numbers I would like to get into, but I don't think I'll be able to get into. But first of all, let me say this. I have no problem with labeling. What I have a problem with is government-enforced labeling. Because number one, like I always said, that goes against the Bible, and therefore it is wrong and counterproductive. But also, let me say this as well. I think it is the onus of the customer to ask whatever. For example, when I got to buy cook-up, some of the time, I would ask, well, does it have in this, does it have in that? I don't need the Standards Bureau to be my daddy for me. I exercise my own responsibility. And I believe most of the time when we buy stuff, who we are buying from. What I have a problem with is government enforced.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, but there's a question.
Greg,
Morning.
Greg, hold a while. Go ahead, caller.
Okay.
Okay, the gentleman talking about the label, right? And he gave the example of the bakery. Okay, we know that the bakery, that the supermarket sell bread from the bakery. So when he say a label, is it just supposed to say bread from Fritz, bread from Fancy Loaf? Because then, does it have to have on the ingredients? That's where I'm confused.
There is some criteria within the labeling regulation, which it is a long regulation. So for you to pick out to say what exactly is supposed to be on it. But just to give you a brief synopsis of what's supposed to be on it, for example, it's supposed to say what type of bread it is, maybe how much it weighs, the approximate weight of the bread. When was it baked? Something akin to that. Who baked it? Right? Just this is just me giving it to you off the top of my head from what I remember.
And the expiry date?
Yes, right? Mm-hmm. You know, the Caribbean said that we are bread snobs. We don't like to have bread more than a day old and so forth. So you kind of need to say when it was baked and you know.
Okay, I understand that.
Yes,
but why not? But why not the ingredients? Because that is the most salient factor. For instance,
I didn't say the ingredients isn't necessary.
Okay, because we're speaking of the bakery again. Because I might pick up a pastry and it has a certain residue of peanuts in it. I don't know, and someone has. I've known of an individual who died from that. I didn't know that peanut allergy was so serious.
I agree with you. Some people don't like to eat pork, but the bakery sells pork bread, right? And they may not like how it tastes and so forth, and you need to say what is in it. I agree with you.
Okay.
I am in agreement.
Okay. Question. Now, when someone when the supermarket go and they buy the bread, is the supermarket have to come up with what is in the bread?
No, that is on the manufacturer.
Okay, so then the bakery is required to put that label on the bread then.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
I don't want us to focus too much on bread because it doesn't pertain to just bread. For example, we have the labeling regulations also speaks to products that come into St. Kitts and Nevis that doesn't have an English as a language on it.
Yeah.
Right? We have had washing machines, TVs, knives, and so forth that come in with different language on it. We have had medication even, right? Come in without English as a language. You do not know how to.
Hold a while. There's a Greg. Finish your statement, please. Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna make a statement and then ask a question. No, businesses of all sizes are going out of business, and I know that because of extra expenses. So I see this as going to be sending out the smaller businessmen out of businesses if you are truly enforce this thing with these extra expenses now. But the question I would like to ask, what about people who are going around in a cooler, ice box or whatever with ice in it, and they stuff them in the ice, like the bottled drinks, ice lollies and that sort of stuff. And you know, when the water melts, paper labeling can't take water. So what about those people who are in that position with the coolers and ice box and the drinks and ice lollies and that sort of stuff? How are they going to be labeling this stuff? And there are other things I like to say, but the time is sharp, and I realize that.
Well,
maybe another time as well. Thank you.
Well, we are not telling people how to label your product. We are not even telling you what graphics and so forth, how to label your product. We are just telling you that you need to have it labeled and you need to have it with the necessary information for the consumer that is buying it from you.
But for the person with the cooler, right, Mr. Mike, where the paper label is going to wash off, what do you recommend that they do so that the contents of the drink, the ice lolly, could be on for the person that's going to purchase, that wants to know what's in it?
I would recommend that when they go to purchase a label, they ask the printer or wherever they're buying the label to ascertain whether the label is water resistant.
Yeah.
That is what I would recommend.
Okay.
Yes, and back to the point you were making about the foreign language. That is a big problem for me, because I go into a place, the Chinese place, and I don't see anything.
You're calling names?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the Chinese stores are all over the place. We go into the Chinese establishment, and there's different items you take up, but you can't, there's no reading that I could decipher. All I see, and I have a problem with that.
We also, that is why we're saying that we also have a problem with it. And another gentleman said that he does not see that we're supposed to be his daddy. But for 10 years, we weren't your daddy. We gave you, we treated you like an adult.
A grown individual.
A grown individual, and you chose not to do it.
To comply.
So, here it is now that we have to look for the for the health and safety of our people.
Yeah.
So no problem. You don't want if you didn't want us to be your daddy, you should have just voluntarily complied when we were voluntarily putting it out there.
Yeah.
Well, you made some things clear, because when we discussed this, we also came to the conclusion that not everything, especially from a local perspective, will be able to be specifically labeled, and you have said as much, but we were concerned from that aspect. For instance, the Tam and Jam. There's a lady who sells Tam and Jam.
You have to have a label.
And I buy it from her, and I was thinking, well, for me, I'm speaking for my behalf. I don't have a problem doing it, but we understand what you're saying. What we're saying is, because you're dealing with this older lady, are you just going to go and tell, well, you said this has been in thing for 10 years, but when you establish that this ongoing forward is going to be the case, are you going to just go and take up her stuff, or are you going to go back to her and say, look, for 10 years we told you about this, and we are now going to enforce it, so we give you a period of at least X amount of time to make sure you comply, so that you understand what I'm saying?
So,
yeah, he did say December 31st.
So that I was about to say that the period of compliance is up until December 30. You have all of that to clean your room, get your stuff in order. You have up until December 31st. Additionally, right? Everybody keeps speaking about the little old lady on the street or the little old man or whatever the case may be. To be honest, a lot of these people I have trained. I know who they are. They've come to my workshops. We've spoken to them many times, right? They know what to do. And some people may say, okay, you know, we never knew about this. But I would say that yesterday, an elderly couple came to the Bureau of
We have a
Standards.
caller, by the way.
So let me finish this point. An elderly couple came to the Bureau of Standards and said that they are about to start something, and they would like to know what is required of them. They haven't started off yet. They heard of it. They heard of us, and they would like to know. So for those who have been residing here for such a long time and say that they don't know, well, I do not know what to say to that, because I have made so much appearances.
Okay.
Well, since you've been here and you represented yourself, I have a better understanding, because my understanding that you've tried, and you've been trying, and there are some individuals who just won't comply or haven't complied up to yet. So we understand that. Whereas before you came, we did not know that. Okay, so we're better enlightened. Caller, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just quickly. The waterproof stuff are more expensive, eh? Let's not forget that. And that will not be easy for the poor man to bear as a financial burden. Waterproof stuffs are more expensive than the non-waterproof stuff.
Caller, do you know what is you know what is also expensive? Litigation is also expensive. Hospital bills is also expensive. When people buy something, that is also expensive. Public health is also expensive. Yes, but public health is also expensive. Public health is also expensive. caller.
But you're not putting poor people out of business.
No, I'm not putting poor people out. I'm not putting poor people out of
Extra
business.
expensive. Businesses are going out of business right now because of extra expense. You don't think poor people would go to
Caller,
business because of extra expense?
caller,
as well?
can you within good conscience say that you should make a product and do not have any
The
do not
customer
have
has
any
the right to ask. The customer has the right
even
to
if
ask.
even if the product has a label, even if the product has a label, the customer still has the right to ask.
That's the customer responsibility, yes.
No, that is also your responsibility as a manufacturer. That is also your responsibility as a
Greg,
manufacturer.
I hear what you're saying, and I can understand your perspective. But if you leave it up to for instance, I may ask the Hortensia, what is the ingredients? And Hortensia can't remember all the ingredients off of her head. Or she wants to make a sale, so she lies.
And just
and
give you
next
3.
thing you know, I have a problem. How do I get redress from that? So Greg, there are different aspects.
Yeah, but putting a label and aiming a different because you could lie too. And
Well,
what
if
I'm
you lie when you put the label on, you put yourself up for because you have the law now is going to deal with you because there's a record now of your label and the ingredients, and if you go contrary to that, well, be prepared to pay some fines or pay some jail time.
But what I'm saying, as a customer, you could get evidence. You just that when you ask, you also have evidence to you. But what I'm saying is that, but not only that, you tell people lie, that goes against your business as well, because a bad name goes against your business. But what I'm saying is that businesses right now today are going out of business, Singis and Nevis.
Just because of labeling?
Because of extra expense.
I was about to ask him that, just because of labeling?
You do, because of extra expense. Labeling will be no extra expense. Okay? So
I just find we want to
think-
keep our people down. We don't want our people to elevate because if a little labeling is going to get their products as far as it can, maybe to the ends of the earth and get them orders and whatever, we're basically prohibiting them from doing that and as well as complying with the standards that the Bureau of Standards would have set out.
I was about to say, right, having your label.
Yeah, but what I'm...
Tourists, I have personally witnessed this, caller, where a tourist, not a tourist, tourists have come off the ship, and where they said that they have been advised not to buy anything from St. Kitts and Nevis because we do not have labels on our products.
Wow.
And they do not know what is being put into our products. Wow. I was told that this is not a hearsay.
Yeah,
they stood in front of me. Yeah. The couple stood in front of me and told me that, right? While I was there, I think it was on Bank Street, where some agro-processors and so forth was selling their products, and they did not offer a sale because of what they were advised to do.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, let the market determine that, not the government. Let the
But that's our biggest market right now. That's what we're dependent on other than this, the CBI. Tourism is our main industry.
Right.
So we're going to suffer our people not to get a sale by not having things properly labeled.
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
anyway, Greg,
that would be at their loss. Let the market determine that.
It's a small investment.
Greg,
small.
That is your opinion. We're 8 minutes over time. Could you make your final point, Greg? And
yes. So what I'm saying, big businesses who have product labels are going out of business because of extra expense. You know, put the poor man in extra expense. It's going to have the same negative effect on him. And like I said, the waterproof version they spoke about for the ice lollies and so in the coolers and so the bottled drinks and so. They put on the waterproof thing, it's going to be even more expensive than the little poor man, which is going to put him further to bankruptcy.
They just add according to the labels, just like how we pay for what is imported. When the price go up, we just pay for it, then we just pay accordingly. We're keeping each other down when we don't think that type of labeling is important.
Look, we're going to have to bring this to
10 years, caller.
Right now.
10
1
years.
cent would break them.
10 years, caller. 10 years. We have been doing this for 10 years.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So
thank you for your contribution.
Do your wrap up and yeah.
So what I would like to say is that the time for conversation and voluntary compliance as of December 31st. Right now we still can have the dialogue. You can engage us. We will be willing to help you, no problem and so forth, right? But the time for that, come December 31st, the time for that and so forth would have passed. It would actually be regulated.
Let's see if we can squeeze in a final call. Hello, caller.
Hi, good morning. I wanted to respond to Greg and what he's bringing forth in the discussion this morning. That same mentality and that attitude is what keeps us down. We have to stay online with what's going on in the rest of the world.
Exactly. Thank you for that.
When people, not only the tourists off the ship, our own people who live abroad and come here, they're afraid to buy stuff where there's no labor in. They need to see what's on those bottles and able to protect themselves. Because the next thing that's going to happen is that people are going to end up in the hospital, and then we're going to blame the hospital for not having the health care.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
Have a good day, guys.
Thank you so much for that. Exactly, because you can say the hospital can't help. The hospital you know what to do. Because nothing in there, nothing to help the doctor. Exactly, nothing to help the doctor. So you could say, okay, I could put my hand on this treatment. But if persons want to get in contact with you, and I know we may have to bring you back for another program when you have the time, just let them know how they can get in contact with you and just remind them of the compliance end date.
Yes, so compliance, we have up until December 31st, 2025. The labeling regulation is free on the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards website, www.sknbs.
Start from the top.
www.sknbs.kn.
Yeah.
Yes. .kn. Wow.
Wow. Oh, you have a telephone number they can get in contact with you, Mr. Mike?
Lord, please do not judge me on that one. I had a little bit of...
That happens to all of us.
467-1498, but you can also email us at sknbs@gov.kn. We answer that email very, very quickly.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
And as I said, you can go and look at the regulation. Free, it's there, it's transparent. We haven't tried to hide anything from anybody. We have just been transparent about this entire process throughout this time.
Okay, thanks for being here. Yeah.
You found the sound.